Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. Welcome back to this Motorsport Manager career. We're back with our Audi team. We've got the 13th race of the season. We're heading to Rio de Janeiro for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Should be a good one. We're still in with a shot of winning the Constructors' Championship. We're only 26 points behind Mercedes. McLaren have stepped up recently. Lando Norris won the last race in Japan, has catapulted McLaren right up there with a chance of winning. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc is still winning the Drivers' Championship. Lando Norris is now taking the lead of the main challenge to Charles Leclerc, whereas Vettel and Gasly slightly behind. I mean, Vettel's 54 points off with 4 races left this season. That would mean winning 2 races and Leclerc finishing outside the points just to get within 4 points of Charles. Whether Vettel can do that or not, I don't know. It's going to be a hard one to win the Drivers' Championship, but hopefully we are going to have a couple of decent races. We have gone ahead and we have actually finished building our new engine. It has catapulted us to the right at the top of the charts here, having the best engine overall, which now gives us the best car overall. Obviously, Aston Martin have had the best car for the last few races due to them having this mighty powerful rear wing. The rest of the cars neither here nor there, but we now sit at the top of the order, whereas Brazil, the engine is crucial, but also the rear wing is crucial here, and the gearbox is useful. I mean, we don't have that good of a gearbox. The engine is the best in the game, but the rear wing is absolutely terrible, only beating out Ferrari. Ferrari have a terrible rear wing as well, and the Rocket Williams team, who have got Renault engines in their car this season. But anyway, we'll go down what the other teams have done. Williams have got a new rear wing. McLaren have built a new rear wing. It was a massive upgrade, but it's only seen them rise up the ranks to 6. Aston Martin still sitting top there. Renault have got a new ring, as have Ford. Haas as well. We're just continuing to see the AI pump money, resources, time into just developing rear wings, which is why we're so far down. I think we've only built 1 rear wing this season. Other than that, the only other upgrade going into the cars that I can see is Aston Martin with a new gearbox. Only puts them up to 10th as well, as we see Aston Martin are pretty useless in most of the other areas. I mean, they've got a pretty decent front wing. What's their suspension like? Suspension's up there as well now, so but there's not many races where it goes front wing and rear wing. If you've got a good front wing and a good rear wing, it doesn't really make a difference because you're not going to have a track that's suitable really for low speed corners and high speed corners. Doesn't really happen in this game. But anyway, we've got the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up. I don't think we've got anything else to go over, so we'll just go in and we'll take a better tomorrow. As the sponsors, we've got Ultra Softs and Super Softs this time out, so we've got 8 and 7 as we usually do. It is medium tyre wear track, so we should be all right. It's only 23 laps, so it's going to be an easy one-stop strategy. There's going to be no hiccups like we had last time out when we went through this ultra aggressive 2-stop strategy. We knew we'd have to 2-stop. We committed it to it really early. Didn't work out. We got caught in a bit of traffic, and then some of the AI teams running really long as well, just getting stuck in traffic. At 23 laps, it should be a 1-stop race for pretty much every team. Both drivers are absolutely delighted with the car, but as always, Vettel is always a little bit more happy with the car, even though the cars are the same. He's always a bit happier with his car against that of Pierre Gasly's, but nothing we can do about that. But anyway, we will jump into practice now, which we skip over, which you all know, and we'll be back in a second to go through qualifying. So practice is over and we are looking pretty quick around this track here in Rio de Janeiro. Ford Haas looking pretty quick. We've got McLaren's up there. One of the Aston Martins in the top 10 quickest as well. Luckily for us, it looks like Mercedes are pretty slow around here. Charles Leclerc 16th, George Russell 19th. So hopefully we are going to have a decent qualifying. I know I've said this before. I'm hoping we can get a pole position because I think in the 3 seasons that we've done so far, I don't think we have actually had a pole position. I'm hoping we can go ahead and break that trend today. We're pretty much there with both setups. We're going to be on the Ultra Soft, so we're just going to run as normal. We'll try and watch both cars come out of the garage. We're right at the end of the pit lane pretty much, so we'll get Gasly. No, there's a bit too much traffic there. Still a bit too much traffic. We'll try and get out in front of this Renault that I think is coming down, or we're going to be behind it. No, that's not even a Renault. That is a Williams. What comes the Renault this season? It's still yellow. I can't even remember. What even? Let's look. Anyway, we're going to get Vettel out of the pits as well. He's out in a little bit of traffic as well. Nothing we could do too much about that. And the Renault's still out. Yeah, they are yellow. I don't know why. I can't remember what colour the Renaults were this season. They were blue. The first season, last season. And then back to yellow this season. I think I changed it to. But anyway, hopefully we can have a good qualifying session here in Brazil. Is what we're hoping for. We really need to take this fight to Mercedes and McLaren. We need a good result here. Hopefully we can do. The rear wing we know is not the best, and it is crucial here, but with this engine that we've got is seemingly quick enough to mitigate that fact. And I mean, Gasly just absolutely in beast mode off that first lap, 6/10 ahead of his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, we know that Gasly does have the timesheet hero stat, which is all about putting in the perfect lap. He does get a +2 to all his stats in qualifying and practice. But anyway, it looks like Gasly could be on for pole position here. Vettel does have a little bit more time. Maybe he was in a little bit more traffic. But anyway, Vettel is the one that goes out first in qualifying on the second run. It looks like Vettel is in a little bit of trouble there because he's out in a lot of traffic once again. Meanwhile, we're going to get Gasly out of the pits as well. We're not actually seeing him come out. And we've got Mercedes alongside us. Hopefully we're still quick enough to go ahead and get out. But Vettel is ahead of the Ford Haas here. Don't know who it is behind him. Are we going to be able to see? I don't think we are. Is it Newgard? No, it is Verstappen that is pushing alongside Sebastian Vettel here. Hopefully he's going to stay ahead, starting his quick lap, which he is. So he should be far enough ahead that Verstappen's not going to interfere with his lap. And Vettel is going quicker through the first sector than his first lap. He's quite a bit quicker through the second sector as well. He's not on for pole position as Gasly sets the quickest first sector of qualifying overall. Vettel comes across the line into 6th place. A little disappointing considering he was a little bit quicker in practice, and Gasly has a terrible second sector here. It doesn't look like too many people are going quicker though. So Gasly should retain his pole position here. He goes quicker through the second sector, goes even quicker, and keeps him ahead of Leclerc, who puts in a really good lap there on his second run in qualifying. But it is Gasly with the pole position here, the first time we've done that, and Aston Martin, that rear wing that they have, has come into play here. Magnussen is right up there in 3rd place as well. We've seen a Renault right up there, which is a little bit surprising considering what we've seen from Renault, especially this season. I mean, they qualified pretty well over the first 2 seasons, just couldn't put it together in the race. But then we've got Daniel Ricciardo. Speaking of Renault, he was there for those disappointing first 2 seasons. But anyway, we've got the 2 Ford Haas's in the top 10. Stroll is up there. Norris is up there for the McLarens as well. Where is George Russell is the question. 14th for George Russell, way down the order. And Carlos Sainz starting outside the top 10 as well, which is good for us because Lando Norris is all the way down in 9th. So if we can pick up points here, we should be able to jump above McLaren. Hopefully Leclerc has a nightmare and we get ahead above Mercedes by the end of this race as well. Would be the perfect outcome to this race, but obviously we have got to get that far into the race. It is 23 laps and Ultrasoft can do 11. The Supersoft should do 15, so it is an easy one-stop race. I mean, it is pretty hot though, so we do have to be a little bit careful on these tyres. We don't want to push too much from the outset, but we do want to make sure we stay ahead. But anyway, here is the grid rundown for the 2023 Brazilian Grand Prix, and as we see, Charles Leclerc does have the flu at the moment, so his stats are a little bit reduced. So if he didn't have that, he possibly would have had pole position here. He's almost recovered from it, but it is going to affect him throughout this race. But anyway, Pierre Gasly is on pole, Leclerc 2nd, Magnussen 3rd, Esteban Ocon is 4th in the Renault, 5th for Max Verstappen in the Ford Haas, 6th for Daniel Ricciardo in the Ferrari, Vettel 7th, Stroll 8th in that 2nd Aston Martin, 9th for Lando Norris, 10th for Newgard in the Ford Performance Haas. Then in 11th place we have Antonio Giovinazzi, Sergio Perez in 12th, followed by 13th it is Carlos Sainz, George Russell in 14th in the Mercedes, 15th for Lewis Hamilton in that Ferrari, a little bit disappointing season for him so far, 16th for Valtteri Bottas, 17th for Alonso in that Red Bull, just not up to scratch this season, 18th for Schwartzman, 19th for Mick Schumacher in the Alfa Romeo, 20th for Yuri Vips, Tsunoda 21st, Albon 22nd, and then on the back row of the grid we've got the 2 Williams here, powered by Renault. Disappointing qualifying from them, almost 1.5 seconds behind. I mean, they've not been too bad this season, but that is a disastrous qualifying for them, and Nico Hülkenberg is starting on a pair of used Ultrasofts as well, so it's going to be a hard race for him. But anyway, we don't want to stick with Vettel. We want to see what Gasly can do from the off here. Is he going to get the run on? No, Leclerc gets an absolute jump at the start of this race. Leclerc takes the lead. Vettel is falling down the order. He's currently in 8th place. We've got one of the, I think that is a Prema running wide. Is it Giovinazzi? It is. We're going to have to push a little bit more with Vettel because he's lost out here. Meanwhile, we're going to play a long game maybe with Charles Leclerc. We don't really want to push too much because we do want this tyre to just to get through here. We're going to let Leclerc, and Leclerc's already in backup mode on those tyres as well. It just goes to show how hot it is here in Brazil at the moment. And we're just going to see if we can get Vettel moving back through this order. It's possibly going to wreck his race a little bit later on, but we do need to clear some of these cars because Vettel is way out of the running here. George Russell, though, hasn't got up into the points. Carlos Sainz has had a really bad start as well. Norris has moved up, but Leclerc is our main target here. We want to try and get Gasly this win over the course of this race, and even in neutral mode these tyres are starting to overheat. And Vettel has recovered almost. He's in 7th. He started 6th, I think. He's currently behind the Aston Martin of Kevin Magnussen here. And the Aston Martin with the ultra powerful rear wing versus us with the pretty... I mean, it is a pretty good engine. I can't remember how many points we are ahead. I don't think it's that many ahead of the next team lower down, as Vettel is just losing out here now. These tyres a little bit overheated, and that is George Russell moving ahead of us. There's a 1.5 second gap to Charles Leclerc. We're just going to hang back with these tyres. I mean, Leclerc is just in full-on conserve mode here, and he's pretty much quicker than us. So that Mercedes car possibly is a lot quicker than us around this circuit, because we are pushing a little bit more than Charles Leclerc is. And he's a good few tenths quicker than us. And Daniel Ricciardo is getting pretty close as well. So just have to play it a little bit carefully. We don't want these tyres overheating as they are with Sebastian Vettel, but we can't really afford to cool him down too much, although we will go conserve mode. We'll keep him in high mode as well. Don't want to go through those tyres too much. Vettel's just going to bring up the rear, try and get as many points as he can, whereas the aim with Gasly is to try and get him ahead of Charles Leclerc here. Whether we can actually go and do that, we're actually picking up some time now as Leclerc is back into conserve mode. Did he push on those tyres a little bit too much? We should be quicker than this lap. We're about 2 tenths quicker than our last lap, 1.5 seconds to Charles Leclerc in front. That time comes down, goes back up. Are we actually quicker than Charles Leclerc here? Pierre Gasly sets his quickest lap of the race. We're about 2 tenths quicker over that lap. I mean, we do have the luxury that we've got quite a bit of fuel remaining to push through and then try recovering a little bit later on. If we just stick to this, though, for the time being, I think we should be quicker. But Leclerc is going to do a long stint on this ultra soft, so we might even, if we can stay somewhere close to him, we might even get an undercut to work here, depending on if we can get in and out of the pits with some time to spare. Meanwhile, Vettel is just trying to hang on to this tyre. We're trying to cool it down a tiny little bit. Conserve mode, it's not dropping too much, it's just sort of staying where it is, which is why we're seeing a lot of the AI try to conserve as well. And our tyre with Pierre Gasly is getting towards the overheating zone. We don't really want to lose time to Charles Leclerc by these tyres overheating. So we'll just go in conserve mode whilst we can. If we start to see this gap increase too much, though, we're just going to have to maybe get through this tyre and hope that an undercut might work, although we would be in traffic and possibly wouldn't work. Meanwhile, Vettel stuck in 7th place. What would it say? It doesn't always give you an accurate time through the pits, because we're 2nd at the moment. If we came in for a pit stop and got off the supers, it says we would be 11th either way. So down to 11th. It's saying it's about 10 seconds through the pit stop. It is a pretty short pit lane with the increased speeds. Whether it would be 11 seconds through the pit lane that we'd lose out to the cars on track, I don't actually know whether that is... I wouldn't say that. I'd be thinking more about 18 seconds. But you never know. The game does say that, but we're going to get back into neutral now because this gap is stacked. There's a little bit of a gap starting to form now. It's up to 2.3 seconds that Leclerc has got this advantage over Pierre Gasly. We need both of our cars in front of the Mercedes. It looks like Vettel has gone ahead and managed to do that. And he gets past the McLaren of Lando Norris as well, which is brilliant. Hopefully Norris can hold off George Russell here, which he does, which is brilliant for our cause as well as McLaren. Although Carlos Sainz is way outside the points, this could be the race that McLaren fall far enough behind, because after this race there's only 3 races to go until the end of the season. Meanwhile, Gasly is bringing down this gap now, running in overtake mode and pushing these tyres. We're just going to ease off a little bit, and then when we decide we're going to get into the pits, I mean, any time from now we can make a pit stop and comfortably get to the end of the race. I mean, these tyres are lasting a little bit longer than it said they would. At the beginning of the race it said about 11 laps. You usually get about 10, especially with the weather being the way it is at the moment with the really high temperatures out on track. And as soon as we go into conserve mode, we just start losing time dramatically, don't we? But Vettel in 5th place is a good position for him to be in. Hopefully we're going to get past Verstappen by the end of the race. I think Daniel Ricciardo might be too much for Vettel here, but if we can get somewhere near the top, that would be good enough for me. But it's just about whether a pit stop would work. It says we would come out in 9th now if we came into the pits, just ahead of Esteban Ocon. There's a lot of... There will be a lot of cars that aren't just pitting just yet, so whether it's better to just wait, because I'm guessing Leclerc's going to go about a lap longer than we are, depending on when we get into the pits. Maybe we should just go all out and push, try and be ultra aggressive, because we're just trying to look after this tyre. We're actually losing so much time to Charles Leclerc, so I think we're going to have to be aggressive. We've got enough of a gap that it shouldn't cost us second place if this doesn't actually work out. But hopefully we can start pulling down on this gap now, and these ultras are going to start going off pretty soon. So we're going to get for the super soft. It does say we'd come out into 7th now. Hopefully we're not actually fully overheated just yet. I think we're about to head into that territory, or we just did head into that territory. So we should be able to get around before this tyre hits 20%, which is when it should drop off the cliff. Hopefully it's not at 25%, because that would be a disaster here. In 2 seconds, are we keeping this gap? We're actually closing that gap, and we're coming around to make our pit stop. Charles Leclerc is going to be staying out, and we come into the pits with a pretty healthy gap. And that is pretty much because Daniel Ricciardo's just falling down the order. What's happened to Ricciardo? Have his tyres just gone off the boil? Yes, they have. And we've had a mistake on the pit stop. Only a 1.2 second mistake though. And we're going to have to run in backup mode because these tyres are going to go off for Sebastian Vettel as well. So we're just going to have to look after them so they don't go off. A rear jack problem. Gasly is out into a bit of traffic. It's about 17.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc here now. We're going to push for the first few laps here on this stint and then cool down. Hopefully we can get an undercut working. We're still cutting that gap to Charles Leclerc. I don't think we're going to be able to cut it down enough to get into the pits, for Leclerc to get in the pits and then get out ahead of him. Is Charles coming in this lap? That is the question. Yes, he is. A pretty early pit stop. He could have gone another lap, but obviously Mercedes responding to us here. His fitness must be affected by the flu though. So as this race goes forward, from this point forward with about half the race to go, as we see Charles Leclerc get out into the lead, he's got a buffer now because that is his teammate George Russell just behind him, who has yet to pit. And we get Vettel out of the pit as well. He's just going to go... No, we're going to stay in high mode for a few laps longer. And we are now in a position where we're overheating. And the undercut didn't work here. I think we're just going to have to let Charles fly off into the distance, because we do need to look after this tyre from this point forward. There's no point really battling with George Russell, because he is going to be making a pit stop this lap, I think. Or is he going to stay out another lap? What's George Russell doing here? I mean, they're going really long. This tyre is going to... Excuse me, this tyre is going to go off before they get a chance to get around here, I would think, unless... Yeah, this tyre's gone past the 20% mark. George Russell is just losing tons of time here, which is obviously good for Vettel, because Russell was challenging him at one point. I mean, the rest of the cars in front do have to pit, so Vettel is up into 3rd place pretty much here as well. So if we can just keep him going here... I mean, Daniel Ricciardo just fell off. His ultras went off, and look how far he's ended up down the order. Meanwhile, we're just cooling down with Gasly, and Charles Leclerc is flying off into the distance. We just have to do some recovery with the fuel, but we should have a 2nd and 3rd place finish here, which is good for us. And it just depends on where Russell actually comes out of the pits here. Russell is outside the point. So if Russell remains in that position, even though Charles is winning, this is going to be a really good result for us. Obviously, McLaren are below us, only Norris in the points. Carlos Sainz currently 20th place of 2 Williams. Way off the pace here in Brazil. Not mounting any sort of challenge. We've got the Red Bulls of Vips in 16th. Alonso is 21st. It's Red Bull. Honda. The development path that they've followed just hasn't worked out for them at all this season. I mean, they just started out... They started out pretty good, but then just fell behind really, really quickly for some reason. And these tyres are going to start getting hot again. We've got about 70% left. I mean, we can push these tyres. Is it worth the risk? So 7.5 seconds is a lot of time to try and make up, especially since we can't really push the fuel either. Charles Leclerc did come out for an ultra soft as well. That is a little bit gamey. That's why he's just flown off into the distance. They've used 2 pairs of ultras. I mean... I wish you could change it so they had to use both sets of tyres. I mean, because then Gasly would have been a little bit closer to him. These tyres were overheating anyway, so we're going to have to go and back up these tyres anyway. Whereas Vettel does have enough of a cushion over Lando Norris that we should be able to keep that 6-second gap even in conserve mode. And Charles is going to fly away into the distance even more, as we just have to cool these tyres down And we've got a safety car. Lando Norris has just crashed. Where is Lando Norris on track here? He's binned it into the barricade. I mean, Gasly just went past the pits. We could have had him in and out. Should we get Vettel onto another pair of Ultras? Because he can get in and out. I mean, we might even be able to get Gasly in and out for a fresh pair of Inters as well. We just have to see how far he is ahead. Is Vettel actually going to lose any places here? Hopefully we don't have a mistake. No, Vettel should get out ahead of the Ford Haas in front of him. He's going to be behind the safety car as they try line up, but he's going to be released to go past. And I don't think we're going to see Vettel into the pit. Leclerc into the pit, so we're going to go Ultras here. But our engine is in a little bit of a... no, 48%. It is orange, but... Gasly does have enough distance here. Are we going to see Charles Leclerc pit, though? That is a question. I mean, he's on this used pair of Ultras. They gave him the system. No, he's not coming in. He's not coming in. Obviously, they feel they can get through on that Ultra Soft. We're going to get a nice, fresh pair of Ultras on here. And Gasly is going to be able to have a proper go at Charles Leclerc to finish this race. Both of our cars on fresh Ultra Soft tyres now. Leclerc is a little bit exposed here on a used pair of Ultras. And we're going to have a little bit of fuel to push as well. Obviously, maybe not as much as Charles does. They possibly will be going to full-on overtake mode. And we've got 1 lap left, so there's going to be like 2 laps remaining once the safety car comes in that we're going to have a chance to move on Charles Leclerc. Hopefully our 2 cars don't hit each other here. But that is a risk we're running. We're going to get into attack mode from here, because we're going to try and get a little bit of heat into these tyres as well. We do need these tyres to heat up. Hopefully we can get above the bar here. Yes, we can, because the weather is so hot. The tyres are going to be at optimal temperature for the race start. And here we go, 2 laps remaining. Charles Leclerc a little bit vulnerable at the front of the order to Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel, but our cars are possibly going to be fighting with each other here, which allows Charles Leclerc to fly off a little bit, get that about half a second gap. Vettel not working for the cause here, trying to get ahead of his teammate, and it looks like we do have a lot of fuel left here. We had more fuel than I thought we would. We can go in a full-on overtake mode with both cars, but his Mercedes still looking pretty strong here. I mean, they're still pushing all out on that tyre. Ours is a lot fresher, but it looks like it's still quick enough, that used Ultra, to stay ahead of our 2 Audis here. We've got 1 lap remaining. We're still falling behind. We're pushing the fuel all out, the tyres all out. Gasly's getting a little bit closer. He's got about half a lap to make something happen here. Doesn't look like we've got the pace to get ahead of that Mercedes, though. And yeah, Charles is going to be able to do it here. That Ultra not in any danger of going off before the end of the race, and we've lost the cars as we come across the start-finish line. Gasly is going to set the quickest lap of the race here, it looks like, but Charles Leclerc is going to go on to claim the victory. Russell has recovered into 5th place here as well. So, we're going to have jumped McLaren. We've got a little bit closer to Mercedes, at least. Not that much. I mean, how many points is that? 25, 35 to 43. So we should have halved the distance. We should be about 13 points behind now. Mercedes heading into the final 3 races of the season. A 2nd and 3rd place is pretty good. We've got Charles Leclerc 1st. Hamilton, pretty decent from where he started on the grid, up into 4th. Russell 5th. Verstappen 6th, Sergio Perez and Renault 7th, Lance Stroll 8th, Daniel Ricciardo go back up to the points in 9th, and Valtteri Bottas in the Alpha rounds out the point scoring positions. Shouldn't be any problems with any of the cars either. And we get the results confirmed there. So Charles Leclerc, even with the flu, goes from 2nd on the grid up to 1st. 64 points now, so Leclerc pulls out the gap. It looks like Leclerc is going to pretty much, after the next race, he could be confirmed the Drivers' Champion for the season unless he has a terrible race. It's now 64 points back to Norris and Vettel. Meanwhile, the gap is now 28. I must have been thinking that a 26-point gap is the gap that it was back to McLaren. it wasn't us. So we've closed up the gap a little bit, 28 points over the last 3 races. If we can have this result over the next 3 races, that we stay this many points ahead of Mercedes, I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. Obviously, we're going to get the upgraded rear wing. We should be really strong for the next race because the engine and the rear wing are going to be crucial. We came 2nd overall. We've still got quite a bit of money going out of the bank account. The results confirmed once again. Callum Illett winning a race in F2 or F3. We don't really look at that. But anyway, we'll just do the interview. Just say that one. Risk upsetting Gasly a little bit. But anyway, in Phoenix, I mean, we've got pretty decent suspension. The rear wing, we're going to have that upgraded for the next race. And then we're going to have, obviously, our really powerful engine. Hopefully, this rear wing is going to get us somewhere above midfield, somewhere around here, because we do have a pretty decent suspension. So we should be the favourites for the race in the United States. Whereas Brazil, we weren't the favourites, but we still had a pretty decent finish. We got that gap down. But anyway, that is where we're going to leave this episode for today. There's only 10 days to the next one in Phoenix. A few of the AI cars have got updates in the works. We'll see what they are heading into the next episode. But anyway, that is it. I'll see you down the road in Phoenix for the United States Grand Prix. But until that time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.